I just felt devastated and abandoned, neglected, torn apart. It was terrible. And I couldn't deal with it. So I went to the doctor and said, I don't want to go working. I just need to drink, and have time for myself. And he said, okay, you're off work for 2 weeks. And I drank, but I felt like it doesn't help me. So I started walking. I started going to Holy Mass again. I started going to the pool and do swimming. But I couldn't forget her. And I tried to get her back. And she said, no. And it was the most devastating that she didn't even want me back after I apologized for whatever I was doing.
Yeah.
So one day I was walking through the city and I'm passing a bookshop and my mind is like with her, of course, but somehow I glimpse into the bookshop and there is a book and there is a man on the book and I lock eyes with this man and he looks at me and I look at him. And the book says, Times of Awareness. And I stop and I have this moment like this 4-year-old in the car. And I think to myself, and I'm in touch with my true self. And this true self speaks to me and says, this is what you need right now.
Hi, it's Calvin Niles, the mindful storyteller, and I am delighted to share with you stories of awakening. Each week, I'm going to be talking to people from around the world of various backgrounds and experiences. People I love, I know, and people I admire, but also those who are completely new to me. One thing all my guests will have in common is that they have been through a journey of awakening. By awakening, I mean a call to higher consciousness and deeper self-awareness beyond material reality. These stories will be real, challenging, funny, stimulating, and insightful. We're going to take our good time with these conversations. So listen from your comfy chair with your favorite drink, or on your weekend stroll, your morning routine, or whatever makes you happy. Stories of Awakening with me, Calvin Niles, and I look forward to you tuning in. Well, yeah. Some people disagree. I've got a friend who's just holding on to all of his hair. He's doing his best to not let go. I'm saying, embrace it, brother. Embrace it.
Right. I saw a hilarious advertisement in the New York subway saying being bald is optional. And there were a lot of monks. We were on tour, so there were 10 monks of us, and we were all staring at this advertisement and saying, we know it's optional.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Brother Freedom. I'm delighted to have you on for Stories of Awakening conversation. And we've been trying to, line this up for a few months, and I'm so glad that it just organically happened. You just contacted me and was like, hey, you free tomorrow? I was like, yeah, let's make it happen. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember now how long ago it was we met, but it was a few years ago, probably in the beginning of 2020 lockdown, I think.
Right. It was the Hero's Journey workshop I was so interested in.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think we connected even before that, which is probably why you maybe saw that. And we spoke in a meeting room on Zoom somewhere. I think there was lots of people there. And I said, yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
I was like, definitely.
I can't tell now because it would be advertisement where it was, but it was a mindfulness session. There we met. Absolutely.
I think so. Yeah. So 2 years later, or 2 and a bit years later, we're here, and it's really all about your own story, and you've had an incredible journey on your spiritual path, and I know it started at a very young age for you because you have some of the major events published on the Plum Village website, because that's of course where you're based as a monk in the Deer Park Monastery, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So how did it all start for Brother Freedom? Where did your journey of awakening start? Where did the big explosion happen to set you on this amazing path that you're now on?
Yeah. Wow. May I say, as a Buddhist monk, Jesus Christ, where shall I start?
Hi, if you're enjoying this conversation, you might like Soar Book Club. Many similar conversations are happening in Soar Book Club, a book club for the spiritually curious. If you like spiritual books and community, then why not join Soar, where we can grow together, learn together in a fun and nurturing environment. Click the link below in the description to find out more about Soar Book Club or to find out how you can join. It'd be nice to see you there.
You want the short version or the long version? You know, it all starts, I don't know when or how, or just like it comes back. Like when I now look back, I have glimpses of moments here and there. And just today, I was hiking out there today too in the forest. And it's a beautiful place for inspiration, for memories, for network, like these things coming back and coming up. And I remember the moment in the car when I was 4 or 5 and my parents and me coming back from the party. And they were arguing about who said and why, and it was too long, that was too funny, why did you drink, why didn't you? And I was like acting, I was asleep on the back seat, but I thought to myself, and it was very vivid memory, I thought to myself, why are people doing this to each other? Why are they talking to each other like that? And I saw, somehow it is weird, I cannot trust these people. They don't know life. I cannot trust my parents, basically. They cannot trust. So from that moment, I think, at least this is a very conscious moment, I started my very personal spiritual journey because I needed to find out what's wrong with people. And then I just observed more and more people in the supermarket, people on flea markets, how they bargain, how they deal, how they talk to each other, how they say hello or hi. And I was so interested in, because as a kid, you're pure, right? And somehow I wanted to keep that purity and that freedom, but I had to give it away. And I believe that it was and it is a lifelong mission and quest for me to rediscover and to maintain and to nourish this freedom. I feel deep inside of me, like as my teacher Thich Nhat Hanh says, my true self, right? Without all these layers of identification of who I am, what I like, what I don't like, which music I hear, which people I meet, and then which I found myself in as soon as I was a teenager.
Wow. That's a really young age to have this kind of deep questioning. I guess maybe, do we all maybe question things from a young age and then sort of...
I think so. It's a weird world we grow up in, right?
Yeah.
They all behave so weird.
Yeah, yeah. So that kind of questioning and that deep observation that took you up to your teens, where you were sort of learning, what it means to interact as a human. Did something then happen in your teens that made you sort of go, right, now it's time for me to take this left turn or this right turn? Where did that kind of questioning and sort of human observation take you next on the path of your
good step? Yeah, next level. Like you have a little bit of empowerment as a teenager. You're still depending on your parents' money and housing, of course, so you can't mess it up completely. But it is true, it's a coming of age, and that's also something what I'm always interested in, coming of age. And one of the signature retreats at our center in Deer Park Monastery is a teen camp every year, and we have 200 teens coming for a week. And we want to get them in touch with their true self and to make decisions and to define, or if you want to so, or to express themselves from that place of touching their true self without all these layers, without all their gadgets and clothing and stuff.
Yeah.
And we succeed, and that's beautiful. So when I was a teenager, I had definitely a moment. My parents are Croatian, and they came to Germany when in the 60s. They're there a long time. But as immigrants, I think you always want to fit in, and you don't want to stand out, stick out, and do things, people would come back to you or your children. So I was always the good boy, and I was taught to be the good boy because they were the good parents. They were diligent and they were fitting into the system and the culture, the neighborhood, and I was sick of it. I just wanted to be me, and I felt like I have to come out of age and I have to be myself. And the means I had back then was to become a punk rocker. So I became a punk rocker, and I dyed my hair green, I had hair like Sid Vicious, just in green, and wore those like very classical leather jackets and studs, and against Nazis sticker and all that stuff, and drinking beer in the middle of the town. And when neighbors came and said, "Look, it's the little baker boy," and I gave them my middle finger and said, and it felt so liberating. I was able to do it because a punk can do that. And that's what I was in terrible need of, like to express myself without the limits of my background or what I've been taught, what is nice. And all I wanted inside was, again, coming back to that little boy, was the freedom. I wanted to be a free person. So that was my next step. But I found out very quickly after 3 or 4 years that these punks that I adored so much, once I was one of them, I saw they're very like unfree. They're limiting themselves into another little bubble. So I had another phase where I took drugs like everybody, smoking, drinking, LSD, and all these stuff. Like, you just want to explore, where's my true self? Where's the human potential, and what is possible?
Yeah.
And that was in the 90s. Then I was around 20, and then in the 90s, techno and house music became very popular, especially in Germany, and old factories and old houses. And I had friends, they knew all about it. So it was sex, drugs, and rock and roll of the 90s that liberated me again. It was like a renaissance, if you want so.
Yeah.
And it was great for 2 or 3 years, when I saw these are all like, they're sick, they are poor, they don't know, they want to be free, but they are limiting themselves again. I saw that again. So what did I do? Next step, I left them and I traveled. I traveled to Jamaica. I wanted to be with the Rastas. I spent 3 months in Jamaica, just living in villages with Rastafaris. And I told them, teach me unity. I was a big reggae listener, so teach me unity.
Yeah.
They said, we will. So I don't know what I got for transmissions there or so, but I came back and I knew that I want to do something contributing to the well-being of people. So I studied alternative medicine, and I became a naturopath and had my own practice. And that was somehow satisfying, but I was not done with traveling. So I went to India, and I wanted to learn more about Ayurveda, and I met gurus and stuff. So I thought, that's it. Like, you travel to other countries where the wise people live. And one guy in India, I asked him, one of the gurus, I said, how come like in India, everybody's a saint, and everybody has superpowers, and back at home, like in Germany, if you behave like this or you dress or speak like this, they lock you up,
Yeah.
And he said, you have as many saints in Germany as we do, but they're all locked up. That's the problem. They lock them up. That's exactly like that. But then I saw these people have problems too. The Rastas have big problems. Now, when I look back, like, Jesus Christ, again, I don't want to misuse his name. But they have big problems, cultural and personal and spiritual, and the Indians too. So I thought, everybody comes with their own problems, and just escaping my own culture doesn't mean that I'm liberating myself. And then came spirituality into my life. Like, I read about the Dalai Lama, and I became very interested in Buddhism because it was one of these peaceful things. And that then was the path I was following. I knew, like, freedom lies within. I tried everything. I tried this and I tried that, and I tried it more than enough. But it always brought me back. And I said, no, I have to stop and find something new. And then I figured I cannot find it outside of me. I have to. And that was the thing with drugs too. I loved drugs, but I said, I always have to buy them and to take them. I know it is possible. And then this little kid talked to me again and said, I know it is possible. This all lies within you.
Yeah.
And it took me like 24 years until I got to that insight and really took action and said, okay, now I'm turning inwards and I'm doing the work here.
Yeah. Yeah.
New arena.
Wow.
Yeah.
You literally travel the world, Brother Freedom. Literally.
Yes. Yes. I was in Australia and Europe hitchhiking. I had a great hitchhiking trip in England, the M1 from London to Edinburgh and back. And I met amazing people there.
Wow. Yeah. I was literally just on that road yesterday back from Manchester. Oh, that's incredible. So when you mentioned on your part of your story on the Plum Village website that you were doing meditation classes. You would go with your mother when you were in your 20s, I think. I think you're in your 20s. Did you already have, like, in your family upbringing, this awareness of this thing called spirituality before your own sort of rebellious nature took you to, seek? It took you on this quest. Were your family already on a journey of kind of a spiritual path that you should be going to meditation with your mother?
As you said before, everything is interconnected in a way, right?
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not a Billy Elliot. Was it the ballet dancer who grew up in the middle working class family, right?
Yeah.
Who was the only one. So I still have some family heritage. But of course, I told you my parents are Croatian, so we have a lot of Franciscan history. We have monks, Franciscan priests. We have one archbishop, one Croatian archbishop. He's the family hero. He became an archbishop in Montenegro, sent there by Leo XIII, by the Pope directly, to connect the Muslims and the Orthodox and the Catholic Christian people.
Yeah.
So there was something, and some of them were quite mystic. So my mom tells me, and my aunties, that they could foresee their day of death and the hour, and they would tell their mother, and she said, "Stop it, I don't want to hear that." But it happened just as they said in prophecy. They died at that day, at that hour. And they said, "Don't worry, everything is okay, it has to be that way." And this was fascinating stories as a kid, of course, right? When you hear things like this. And my grandma would tell me like ghost stories. And so we were brought up like with spirits, let's say.
Yeah.
Right? So there was something, and I think it is also a tailwind, but it's not necessary. Because if you have that connection with your true self, everybody's walking around with it, is carrying it inside. That's what I found out later. So if you stay in touch with that, especially as a kid, and then cultivate it, you don't need a spiritual background.
Yeah.
I was lucky. It helped.
Mm-hmm.
It helped often during the party times, sex, drug, and rock and roll times, to remember, this is not my path. This is not my path. And all these guys, my buddies, and so they don't know where they're going, but I know where I'm going, and I'm not going this way. It helped me actually not getting lost.
Yeah. So you had this kind of reference point, this compass that was helping.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Amazing. And then so you've gone through, the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You've toured the world. You've done the Rastafari thing, and you've done the Indian thing, and you've done the healing work and stuff. Relationships
is another thing,
Mm-hmm.
It's always the next partner who will be the best.
Right? You mean that's not true? Damn.
Well, try it. Don't continue.
Yeah. So what do you mean? Like, what's made you realize that?
Well, a lot of failed relationships, right? Like I cannot count them. I was not able to be long with a partner. In my case, it was girls. A month, 2, until like it came to a new level, and you have to show yourself vulnerable. You have to show your weaknesses, or even worse, the partner showed her weaknesses. I said, God, this is not what I was like aiming for. This is not the girl I fell in love with. She's just like a suffering human being. I don't want to deal with this. And then I said, we got to stop this, And I had that many times. And my mom held a mirror in front of me saying like, where's Sabrina? And I said, Sabrina is stupid. I left her. And then, okay. And then we had Angela. And then one day she's not coming anymore. I was able to bring them home, right?
Yeah.
So where's Angela? And I'm saying like, she's stupid. Like I left her.
Yeah.
And one point she said, you know what, my son, you girls are always stupid and they're always like leaving, but you're always there. Don't you think that maybe you are the stupid one? I said, whoa, she hit me. And I had to admit, I knew in that moment, this is true. It's not Angela and Sabrina, it's me. I'm the stupid one. And that's how it all happened. And then I married, and it was my longest one for 6 years. And after that, I started again 1 month, 2 months, 6 months. And one of these girls left me before I could left her. Imagine.
Yeah.
It was unfair, not to have the patience to wait for me to end it. It was incredibly,
she usurped your power.
I was feeling what all the other partners were feeling when I told them to leave. I just felt devastated and abandoned, neglected, torn apart. It was terrible. And I couldn't deal with it. So I went to the doctor and said, I don't want to go working. I just need to drink, and have time for myself. And he said, okay, you're off work for 2 weeks. And I drank, but I felt like it doesn't help me. So I started walking. I started going to Holy Mass again. I started going to the pool and do swimming. But I couldn't forget her. And I tried to get her back. And she said, no. And it was the most devastating that she didn't even want me back after I apologized for whatever I was doing.
Yeah.
So one day I was walking through the city and I'm passing a bookshop and my mind is like with her, of course, but somehow I glimpse into the bookshop and there is a book and there is a man on the book and I lock eyes with this man and he looks at me and I look at him. And the book says, Times of Awareness. And I stop and I have this moment like this 4-year-old in the car. And I think to myself, and I'm in touch with my true self. And this true self speaks to me and says, this is what you need right now. And I like, whoa. But I could believe it because I knew it's my deepest me that is speaking. So I went straight into the bookshop and I said, I want this book. And she said, that's the last copy in the window. I said, well, that's the one I was talking to,
Mm-hmm.
So I took that very book home and it was Thich Nhat Hanh. It was like mindfulness in daily life. And I started reading it. And like my mother, it was like looking into a mirror. It talked about habit energies, about ancestral habit energies, about hitting the wall all the time, about why you're doing all your mistakes again and again. What is identity? What do you think you are?
Yeah.
And what to do. What Christianity didn't teach me was walk and breathe. They taught me how to breathe. They taught me how to wash my dishes. And as a bachelor, I had a lot of dishes. I started dishwashing meditation that very day. It was hilarious.
And you meditated for a week after you finally cleaned your kitchen.
Right. The good thing is you don't even need to sit down anymore to meditate. You can and I said to myself, I knew this exists. There's a lifestyle where you can be at peace, where you can live peace. You can be peace. I knew it. And you don't have to sit down for 20 minutes, get up and get angry again, like after the first thing.
Yeah.
But while you're doing it, you can generate peace and happiness, basically. So that was the beginning of my Plum Village career.
Uh-huh. So this is obviously a huge turning point. So all of these things, they're building up, and these ripples of awareness and they're expanding. And then there's difficulty because it's interesting though, you say, because you say to the doctor, oh, I need some time off, and you have this drink and whatever, but it's not working for you. And like,
That's what people do. You would drink to forget her, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You would do that to forget her, but it didn't work.
Yeah, yeah. So you're thinking, I can't get her out of my mind. What, so there's something there's continually nagging, and that pushed you even further and further. And finally, you looked into this window. Do you think that, in your own experience, that this pain, this emotional turmoil that you're experiencing, do you think that helped you to be more aware of this book? Maybe you passed it 1,000 times before, or do you think that is just like something that was preordained? It had to happen exactly that way.
Everything is interconnected. You said it, right? And I walked past this bookshop many times, but I didn't want to look into the window, but I looked into the window. And I was not master of my mind or my body in that moment or in that days, and I was sober when I walked there. I'm always referring, Thai found me, how it is, like when you're in pain.
Yeah.
When you suffer, you become so spiritually sensitive to energies, to things, to what you need. Like, I don't know, a sick animal knows exactly what it needs. It needs to rest and lie down, or it needs to eat this herbs or that grass.
Yeah.
And unconsciously, I'm telling you, below all my layers, who I am and who she is and what happened between us, this little vulnerable me said, turn your head to the left. And then immediately we locked eyes and I couldn't continue to walk. I had to stand there so my me could talk to me, right? So it needs, and that's also Buddhist teaching, it needs suffering.
Yeah.
It needs suffering. Happiness and suffering inter-are, and they need each other.
Yeah.
So that's what I believe it was.
Yeah.
He found me.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just imagining you sort of there. What kind of feeling were you experiencing at that time? Did you have a kind of a feeling of, this is a big moment, I know, something in your body was telling you this is huge? Or was it just like just pure curiosity, intellectual curiosity? Or
it was neither nor. It was neither the one. It was just like, it was so true, that moment. And I felt so hurt, and I felt so seen by myself. I was in the middle of it. It was neither. I didn't have the time, because it was so authentic and it was so real. Yeah, that this was it. This is the life this is the freedom I was always looking for. This is to be in touch with myself, to be in touch with life, and to also allow life to do things to you and not always try to control it, Yeah. And I think life took advantage of me being vulnerable in that moment and say, turn his head to the left, and he turned his head to the left,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It was one of these moments.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another coming of age moment, coming alive moment,
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty big. I was actually just kind of sort of thinking about, reflecting as I was listening to you, trying to think of moments. I was sort of kind of reflected on my own journey.
Actually. Yeah. Oh, thinking, sure. Everybody
has I kind of know what you mean. With something hits you so true that is self-evident.
Sometimes they're very short moments, and sometimes you forget.
Yeah.
And this one I would have forgotten if this book wouldn't have stroked me so much,
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is a moment of enlightenment, because you come alive and you're illuminated by something, by life. When I give a talk and I want to talk about enlightenment, it is so weird, because everybody connects it with the Buddha, and it is like heretic to say, like, this is enlightenment, because what do you want? Like, you want to claim you're enlightened or what? So I always call it, to make it a little bit more profane, I call it enlivenment, because everybody can connect with that. And as you said, like, you were pondering when you had these moments. Everybody had these moments.
Mm.
When you came alive, when you became life, basically, and you felt so connected.
Yeah.
Because you allowed life to enter you and to take control of you, basically. You're basically never in control, right? But we believe, or by making decisions nonstop, we say, I go left, so I'm going left. It was my decision. Yeah, I'm doing this, I'm signing this contract, I'm taking this partner. But what led you to this decision? Like, everything is interconnected. Again, like, there are many conditions coming together in a little moment. So enlightenment is a big thing. And I believe, I want actually for myself and for all people that we always look out for enlivening moments where we come alive. This is our true home.
Yeah.
Ah.
Love that. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So, wow. So this big moment of enlightenment, as you describe, happens, and you get this book, and it opens the door to your life of monk, being
it was
in the monastery.
amazing.
Yeah. So what happens next? How did you decide to jump into the monastery life and practicing
I read
Zen?
more books. More books, and it was really nourishing, and I learned so much about me, and I suffered less because I saw where my suffering comes from. Right, that I'm always making the same mistakes. And my dad taught me, son, he said, I'm never doing the same mistake twice. I do it 5 or 6 times just to be sure. I was feeling I'm hitting the wall again and again. I stand up and I run again. So I was reading a lot, and maybe my spiritual ancestors, those Franciscans, they took their part and said, hey, how about you continue a little bit of the family tradition? And I wanted to become a Franciscan monk, actually, when I was 28, far before. And I went to Croatia because I wanted to be a monk in Croatia, my ancestral country. And then I found out that's not for me. I will die here. My personality just doesn't fit into a Franciscan monastery as much as I wish it. Talking about self-control and making decisions, right? So I could tell, luckily, that this is not my life. But reading the book or books of Thich, I wanted to meet that community. There was always like the community of Plum Village, of mindful living in France. It's only 1,000 kilometers. So I sat in my car half a year after reading the first book and went down for a retreat for a week. And there were these young monks and nuns. They were playful. They were playing soccer, guitar, drums. But then they had also ceremonies, and they were sitting and eating in silence. They were walking through the forest in silence. Some of them were tree hugging. I said, wow, this is amazing. And then there's this old man, the man from the book cover, giving a lecture and bringing tears to my eyes. Because again, I'm looking into a mirror, and he speaks about me, basically. I feel so heard and seen. And I see the pain I have caused to the people I love, to all my girlfriends, to my parents, to my grandparents, my sister, my friends. I said, wow, you did this. And I never wanted to do that. I just did it because I needed to protect myself, or because I was not able to embrace the suffering and the weaknesses and the vulnerability of my partners, for example. I was not willfully hostile.
Yeah.
And then I saw my own suffering, and I got in touch with that. And I thought, wow, and this watered, we call it seeds, in our consciousness or in the heart. It watered seeds, and they sprout. And I said, I want to live like that. Now with these, and look, they're even allowed to play football. And they're and they sing, and they're happy. And this is a community. Yeah. And back then, when I wanted to become a Franciscan monk, the 3 vows are the vow of poverty, of chastity, and of obedience, right? Now in Buddhism, it's not obedience. It's like taking refuge in the community, in the Sangha. But you also have the simplicity, right? The poverty is to live a simple life, and the chastity, of course. It's a monastic rule. Yeah. And I had my share with sex, drugs, and rock and roll, so I said, I can let go of that,
Yeah.
And I always knew that if I have less, I'm more happy. And because I had to I was selling later, I was selling all my belongings, and then I saw what I had and what I had accumulated over time, which I always thought, this makes you happy, or this makes you more happy, or this makes you a great deal happy. And I sold it all.
Yeah.
So this was watered, the seed was watered. Like after half a year of the first book, and 1 year later, I had quit and sold everything and only had my car, my guitar, a few books, and a suitcase, and went down to France.
Oh, you played guitar as well, did you? Oh,
Yes. Oh, I had a Fender. I'm telling you, I had 3 guitars. You know,
wow.
I played ice hockey. I had ice hockey, a complete ice hockey gear. I had a PlayStation with 200 games. I had a slot car racing, like 30 meters slot car racing.
Yeah.
With pimped cars, and I had too much to be happy.
So when you sold it, what did you do with all your millions?
Well, yeah, good deal. First, I went party with my friends, saying goodbye, right? And I treated them all. And then I needed also money to bring there, like to pay for my stay there for a couple of months, a year. I didn't know how long the process is, and I didn't even know if they want to take me. Such a weird, like, dude, you know, coming, and I was still smoking. And I thought, like, I just had this pure aspiration. I want to have a simple life, live in community, and be peace, and find it for myself and share it to the world, because that's who we are, and everybody should know.
Yeah.
But I was not sure, and they were laughing about me. They said, we never had a case like you. You know, like, you don't seem like. I said, okay, if you are serious, you have to stop smoking. And I said, okay, let's make a deal. You accept me, and then I stop. Because if you don't accept me and I have stopped, then I lost both, you know, like. They said, it's not the game we play, so you got to stop. And then I saw how hard it was to stop smoking. But it went, as you can see and hear now, it went well, like I did it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. My mother stopped smoking in I think it was in the early 70s. And
oh, that's early.
Yeah, she was smoking quite heavily. I mean, my mother.
But you didn't, not because she became a nun, right?
No. But what is leading to in my mind is because she was a heavy smoker, and she just stopped suddenly. She just decided one day. She says, that's it. One day she woke up. She said, I have to stop smoking, and she stopped.
That's mind power. I wish I had that.
Well, I was actually about to say that part of your journey was being able to relinquish all of these things like that. I appreciate smoking wasn't as easy, but there's a huge host of other things that would probably might have been much harder for somebody locked into a habitual pattern, in the gaming, for example, and all of the possessions and the lifestyle and everything. And you knew, and obviously, you know, neuroscience will say, you know, changing the habits, we do have to have all this consistent action, but there were some things you found very easy to give up relative to, say, smoking. Is that was that the profundity of that true self that you discovered, which kind of broke the shackles of some of those conditions?
Absolutely. That exactly, super exactly. It was exactly that. That gives you superpowers. You know, like we call it in Buddhism, you call it volition. Yeah, it's volition. Like,
yeah.
Only this with the smoking, I have to say. Then I tricked my dad. Is like your mom. He stopped like one day. He said, "That's it," and he threw them away. And I would, like, next day I would run after and search, where did I throw it? You know. So I had to trick myself, and I was smoking 2 packages a day. So I had to stop in a way that I smoke every day one less. Every day one less. And at the beginning, you don't even notice it. But when it comes to the last 10, you notice it. And then you have the last 3, and I just choose after each meal. And then you have 2, so you choose meals. And then I had only 1 left. And after breakfast, I said, spare it for lunch. So after lunch, I said, spare it for dinner. And after dinner, I said, I don't want to smoke it. You know? And that was it. I didn't even smoke my last one. Wow. So that helped me to get slowly down.
Yeah. I think you just helped me there sort my fitness regime out.
Awesome.
Okay, so I guess that's kind of put you on this path, and then I know it wasn't always straightforward and easy to, you know, to enter the monkhood. You know, it's not exactly a walk in the park. How did you embrace that fully? And, you know, did you feel like running away even at some point?
Yeah, nice. Good question. Good question, because as a punk, I already kind of ran away, or I wanted to exit, you know, and I adored these people who just buy a magic bus and then they travel, like leaving all this behind, what I felt like is bonding me in a way I don't want to be bonded, like in a society that I don't support with their values and stuff. So it was not running away, but it was finally freeing myself from the cage, you know, that I felt captured in. And I hear that sometimes often when retreatants come to retreats and before they leave, we have a sharing what they want to bring home and stuff. And then they say, it's easy for you guys here. You live in this bubble, but out there in the real world. And then I always get mad, you know. I said, you know, what is out there and what is in here? When I lived in there, I wanted to get out, you know. So for me, in is out. Your in is my out. And if you think we live in a bubble, then what are you eating here? We cook, we go shopping, we have cars that need maintenance. We talk to you and you come from the so-called outside. So forget about it. It's just a discriminative mind, a dualistic mind who wants to say here and there, and here the conditions are good and here they are bad. And I'm on this side of the river. I'm here, you know?
Yeah. How do I get to the other side of the river? You are on the other side.
Oh, you know that joke. It's a fantastic one. I love that one.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So okay. Yeah. So
it's not a running away. It's a merging. Merging with my true self again. Yeah. So I mean, so when you first got into the monastery, you found it easy to just relax into that environment then, did you? Or did you, you know, because I'm just imagining me, you know, going, you know, I've given a lot of things up and, you know, I actually felt ready. It was that kind of, actually that's quite easy because it's time. And I'm just thinking, anytime I'm embracing something new, even though the readiness is there, like with giving up the smoking for you, it still comes with its challenges. So did you ever kind of feel like, you know, I've tried this monk thing and I felt connected, but now I actually had enough. You know, I need to go back to the old life. Have you ever had those kind of challenges when you started at first? I want to mention, Calvin, that I admire your self-love. When you say you've let go of many things, I was never able to do so, you know. But you are able to look at yourself and see what does me harm and what is beneficial for me. And you know how to filter these things out and let go of things. And these are layers and identifications we put on to identify ourselves, to gain strength and to be somebody, right? And to also be protected and to be strong. But to be I would say a spiritual chameleon, you have these qualities, you know? Like you see, I'm here, so I need to be like that. This doesn't serve me anymore, so I'm changing color here. It's very adorable, and I just want to say that one time.
Oh, thank you.
You're kind of a lay monk, you know? And it's maybe even more difficult living in society with all these distractions, with all these temptations, but you're saying no, 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 you know, and you don't have precepts you have to follow, but you're doing it out of your own heart. That's your true self making these decisions. Yeah, thank you for being so awesome.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, and it was coming back to your question. I had to take some time to get used to that formality of monasticism. And it's a Vietnamese tradition. So there's a lot of Vietnamese cultural aspects to it. And there are Vietnamese fine manners and there are monastic fine manners. And as a punk rock, you know, as a punk rocker, you're not like, you don't feel obliged to follow them necessarily.
Yeah.
So I had my moments with some of the elder brothers, but my heart was so strong in knowing that this is the place we want to be, or at least that I don't want to be at any place else. And I have to say that I'm an open person and that I want to learn, you know. And when I saw, like you said, like, okay, this doesn't seem to serve me, let's drop it and try it without it. But there was a time after, how long was it, 5 or 6 years, when I got stuck in monastic life. And I said, this is all about things somebody wrote like 2,600 years ago, and now I have to follow it. It's not even me who wrote it down. So why should I believe what is written? And who knows if it's even true, or if the message got lost with all the transcriptions and stuff over years. And I felt more and more empty, and there was like a blind spot in my heart I couldn't access or see anymore. And I was thinking, maybe this is not the thing I want to do for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. And I was not sure, or even I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew there's something missing and I'm not whole, and maybe I need to leave. And I talked to an elder brother, and he said, take a time off, a sabbatical. I said, great idea. I didn't even think of that. I'm like, this or that, you know, like in or out.
Yeah.
Let's take 6 months off, you know? And then the community said, sure, you know, you're like, how old was I? 48 or so. They say, you're old enough, you know what you're doing. Like, do what you have to do. And then if you want to come back, come back.
Wow.
And I knew it was like, I was not angry about the community. I was not burned out from working or servicing for the community. I was looking for something that I have lost. And I think it's again this little boy, you know, who couldn't access me. And I had a beautiful moment at the river where this voice spoke to me again and said, well, if you want to find out and see that blind spot, you need to move your ass somewhere else so you can look at it. From here, you won't see it. And hearing this, I recognized the voice and I said, whoa, that's the same voice that brought me here. That's the same voice of the small boy. I can trust this voice. You know, it's me. It's my deepest self. And then I decided to ask the brothers. And so when I left, I came back to Germany, lived with my sister and my parents for 6 months, and I had a lot of experiences with workshops, you know, which one of them was a Vipassana retreat, which was super enlivening. A hero's journey workshop for 7 days, which was super enlivening. And we talked about that. It brought back like an out this pure self of me, like this force of life.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to different religious leaders. So I went to speak to a mystic, a Catholic priest, a guru again. How do you call these? Now I forgot the name. The Muslim who do the dervish dance.
Oh, Sufi. The Sufi.
Sufis, yeah. Also a mystic Muslim, a Sufi.
Yeah, yeah.
And I went on NVC retreats because NVC was always dear to me. And it's a part of our tradition too, loving speech and deep listening, connecting with oneself, and also being able to hear. And Marshall Rosenberg said 80% of NVC, nonviolent communication, I want to say it once loud, is self-compassion and self-hearing, right? Also to cultivate that intrapersonal communication and awareness. Yeah. So, and that helped me a lot. And I found myself in these 6 months, and I came back to the community right after 6 months, fresh, refreshed. And I started my music infused meditation series. I became creative.
Yeah. I love, by the way, I have to say, I love those, by the way. And there's one particular one that I really love. My favorite one that you did in your meditation.
Let me know which one it is.
It's the one with Ludovico Einaudi's song, The Earth Prelude.
Oh, yes.
Oh, man. I mean, I love that song.
That's a deep relaxation, isn't it? It's a deep relaxation.
That's next level. Huh? That's next level, brother.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, you know, talking about this without wanting to advertise, but the quality is bad, but the spirit is great. You know, I'm learning also to work with a mic better and but try the father and mother meditation, which is amazing, transformative. It's called father-mother meditation. And it's the soundtrack of Cloud Atlas. Oh, you know, this beautiful piano piece.
Yeah.
And it brings you back to your parents when they were 5 years old. to their joys and their suffering. And then you realize you are a part of them. It's so I love this one.
Yeah.
And now I started talking about interpersonal communication. I just actually published and uploaded it a couple of days ago. Is the mirror meditation. Because what I always loved, here, Calvin, see yourself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sitting in front of a mirror,
yeah,
and having a compassionate dialogue. I had a bird, a parakeet, when I was a boy.
Yeah.
When I was this 4-year-old boy, I had a parakeet, and it was my best friend. His name was Pippi, and I was playing with Pippi all the time. I was observing Pippi. He would be in his cage in front of his mirror, and some days he would argue with himself, and he would pick at himself. And other days he would kiss himself and would say, I love you, and would kiss himself. And as a little boy seeking freedom and meaning, this was fascinating. And I thought, this came back to me too, like a couple of years ago. And I said, this is a great teacher. My old bird who died then, he's a great teacher. And I can make use of it and look into the mirror and see myself and see where I'm at, but starting a dialogue, a compassionate dialogue, accepting myself and building myself. And now I made a music-infused mirror meditation series where you look into the mirror, and I'm guiding it. But I'm hoping that people will start to learn to guide themselves after a while.
Wow. I've written that down. I've got the father and the mother and the mirror meditation, because I actually subscribe to your
that's
channel.
You, huh? All right. I was wondering.
Yeah, that's me, man. That's me. That's me going, go on, brother Freedom, do me another one.
Appreciate, bro.
Okay, well, look, I know we could probably talk forever and ever, because our conversations are so rich.
Don't tell me we're ending here.
I'd rather not, but I know that we both have a sort of a deadline. But I would certainly love to maybe down the line have another conversation as things.
Let's have a follow-up. Yeah, we also don't want to talk too much, so people need a little break.
They need a break. Yeah, they can maybe try the mirror meditation in the break, and then
do it and leave feedback down there, so I know if it works and how it works.
Yeah. No, that's so wonderful, brother Freedom, man. Absolute honor. I'm so glad we managed to hook up, managed to make this happen. And thank you for all of what you are doing, because I know you spend a lot of time thanking others for what they do, but thank you for what you do. And you are a real shining light. And I'm delighted we're connected. And I will be coming to San Francisco as well, by the way. And when I'm there, I'll be looking you up.
Please, you have to. You have to. Yes, amazing. That makes my heart smile. And as I said, I admire your work and what you're doing, how you're reaching out, and how your contribution of enlivening this world, contributing to making other lives more beautiful.
What is most meaningful for you in 2022? Is it healing and forgiveness? Is it love and belonging? Or maybe it's the courage to be and to act. Soar Book Club has all of this for you. If you want to read more and need accountability to keep you moving forward in your already busy life, are you looking for inspiration to develop your spiritual awareness? Maybe you want to be part of a positive community during these uncertain times, or connect with like-minded people who love stories and books. Then join Soar Book Club. Hop on board. The train is about to leave the station, and I would love to have you on the journey with me. So click the link below to join. That's Soar Book Club with me, Calvin Niles. I hope to see you there.